want to ring me bell. Wake up Eric Williams. Tell him the party found him. PNM needed immediate attention. Ring me bell. Wake up Mother Cornhawk. Tell she to cast a spell on we party, cause it's not what it used to be. I ring my bell, ring my bell. I ring my bell down there. I ring my bell, ring my bell. I ring my bell down there. This thing is becoming out of hand. It's time this damn nonsense stop. If you don't sing a PNM song, from Skinner Park you'll be dropped. Calypsonian could have sing what they want. We were the spokesman for the people. Eric Duffy, Chambers Duncy, when Kamala drunk how she liked to pee. Calypsonian know that's no way to go. Too much happening in we country. All this killing spree, young woman body, but only about PNM you could sing. All them songs playing on the radio, all you singing we Kamala do. But when PNM do a wrong thing, I hear in a word from you. I want to ring me bell, wake up Mother Castle. Every Monday she preach on WAC radio, and if the biggest critic of Calypso, ring me bell for Patsy and Joni. I want them two cultural lovers to know, not only PNM song is Calypso. I ring my bell, ring my bell. I ring my bell down there. I ring my bell, ring my bell. I ring my bell down there. Crime will never stop in this country once black people belly empty. How could a man work in CPEP, maintain his whole family? All you say the past regime was so bad, so much wrong thing they done to we. Now that PNM take over, white poor people going hungry. When PNM win, all African grin. Now we get back we country. All they doing is complaining and ain't doing nothing for we. The mess already made, don't sit in the shade and ponder on we problem. Get off your ass and do it fast and find a way to solve them. I want to ring my bell, wake up Randolph Burrows. Tell him among all past police commissioners, up to now is he I prefer. Ring my bell, wake up the Lord Bryna. Tell him the state of Calypso today is a good thing he passed away.
What is democracy? What is human rights? And to whom is it directed? Suspend the Constitution, lawlessness out of hand. And under this Constitution, there could be no prosecution. It looks like this Constitution is not for the law-abiding man. Only criminals and crooks, to get them off of the hook. Good people must have no fun. They have to be on the run, ducking from bandits, bullets and guns. While they're making a mockery of democracy, violating the law with impunity, and some legal entity defends them with alacrity, while they're making a mockery of democracy. International should be disbanded immediately, or charge them all as accomplice for every crime in every country. Cause it look like their only mission is to see the guilty go free, while the victim rights go to waste. Nobody to plead their case. How long would we stand and see democracy going crazy? to be. They're just making a mockery of democracy, violating the law with impunity, and some legal entity defends them with alacrity while they're making a mockery of democracy. Don't execute the criminals if they've been on death row too long. It's cruel, unusual punishment. Society shouldn't commit this wrong. You violating their human rights. You're sure to hear some lawyers say, but the victim rights are lost. Why they say justice take its course? Look like them criminal is boss. The guilty rights stay in store, protected under due course of the law. UNC, they're making a mockery of democracy, violating the law with impunity, and them legal entity defends them with alacrity while they're making a mockery of democracy.
Of course, a pleasant good night to all and sundry. It is yesterday, Tuesday edition of the Corridor Transformation with your host, Leonard Smith. And I thought it was important, of course, in keeping with and consistent with the mood that it is an election year, having regard, of course, to the faulty state of affairs of this government. And could they, maybe tonight, that should be the topic, could they do more to make themselves unpalatable, unelectable, and to the point of ad nauseum, and therefore fully and totally qualified to get the hell out of office. What they're staying there for, what they're prolonging, the inevitable agony that they will have to be subjected to with the consent and the approbation of the people. Let's not waste time. So this is what should happen to them and will happen to them.
Let's put our country together again.
Yes, indeed. Yes, people, of course, a pleasant good night once again. Of course, welcome to the Corridor Transformation, your host, Lennox Smith. And of course, it appears that 3 consecutive days we have not had any serious problem, except, of course, to do the usual tweaking when you have, of course, a entirely new system altogether. I want to say it is, of course, a pleasure and a distinct honor to be in your collective and individual presence. I want to say as well that the line is open as well, so we will take your calls immediately. 337-6940. I will resume in due course the impromptu calling of persons that I believe can make a contribution to the enlightenment. And I noticed this morning on the ground report, someone who I never expected, of course, to be referencing the corridor transformation, did do so, of course, and he is of what I consider to be PNM sycophantic stock. Let me repeat that, of PNM sycophantic stock. What that tells me is that there is a deep sense of introspection, and that in persons like those, they have within them what is called a dialectic, meaning that they have opposing forces within themselves, wanting to be, of course, loyal to something, knowing full well that it doesn't deserve that level of loyalty, and in a state of indecision, but at the same time firmly anchoring their position in that area, along that path that is certainly transformatory and superior to that which they would have, of course, be addressing or contemplating or revising their loyalty. That is good. That is good. Because human beings are creatures of what is called action, mission. They are creatures of habits. And so it will take them a long time to, of course, divest after reconciling within themselves and doing, of course, some, as I said, introspection. They will have to come to the inescapable conclusion, and in this case, recognizing the toxicity, the inability, the savagery, the criminal behavior, the belligerence of the Rowley PNM administration. Yeah. And as we said last night, and I did so again on the ground report, but to a lesser extent, that no way Rowley and they could hoodwink a population that is microscopically examining them, having regard to their monolithic and conspicuous demonstration of deception, of evil, of utilizing public resources for their own aggrandizement and lining their pockets. And at the end of it all, the inescapable conclusion must be that they have breached the social contract in a very egregious way, in a very irrefutable and at the same time irretrievable manner. They can't retrieve that. No way. The best they can do now is get the hell out of office and hope for the sympathy of the population. But at this point in time, the longer that they stay in office, the more irascible, the more angry the population will become, and therefore the window of opportunity for forgiveness would have been lost in such circumstance. It reminds me very significantly and poignantly of Saddam Hussein of Iraq. Yes. Having, of course, gas the Kurds in the north of Iraq because they were recalcitrant and they were, according to him, rebellious, because he wants to have absolute and total and no man must back rule in Iraq. And when he was deposed, he was found in a foxhole, hiding from, of course, the Americans and the people of Iraq. And when he was eventually found, all bearded, dirty looking, and of course, totally soiled, like a typical, what we will call in Trinidad in local parlance, vagrant, but the more appropriate term may be displaced person. He then jumped up and bawl, he is the president of Iraq. Well, that is what they wanted to hear. And he eventually, of course, all things being equal, he had to face the gas chamber. And therefore, shortened the life on earth and the evil that he would have perpetrated on the people of Iraq. While it is to a lesser extent in the context of Trinidad and Tobago, the fact of the matter is that Rowley and his group of miscreants, his group of callous and destructive, incompetent, impotent, vindictive, and totally out of control individuals, out of control. They believe that the office they hold, and notwithstanding how they got into office, I cannot understand how people could be so damn stupid. You have a slim majority, in spite of what you say about Kamlande, a slim on 2 occasions, all of which are questionable in terms of the acts that you would have done to undermine the electoral process. But let's go to the lines. Pleasant good night, welcome.
Pleasant good night, Mr. Lennox. Pleasant good night to the right-thinking citizens of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, indeed.
Mr. Lennox, I want to bring a little point. Are the budget still? Are the budget still?
Yes, go ahead. Yes, we all are.
I heard the Minister of Finance, the outgoing Minister of Finance, told the public that he increasing the minimum wage in the government programs.
Yes.
MTS,
URP.
CPEP, and URP.
Yes, basically,
right?
yeah.
Right. I want to say this. The MTS workers just work very hard. Right? The CPEP workers just work hard. The URP monthly paid just work hard. You see the URP daily paid, I don't know if I'm not sure if it's daily paid, given or whatever the case may be. But you see the URP daily paid, people get vexed with me, but what are you doing getting them an increase? That's to try to win vote hour because
well, it's obvious, and then
the mind doesn't understanding.
No, but it's obvious. I mean, you have said it, and the negligible increase, I sincerely believe is an insult. But go ahead.
Yeah, but the URP daily paid them don't just get paid because how does call it, the ghost, them don't do nothing. 95% of URP daily pay does nothing.
Yes. Go ahead, I will comment after.
The monthly pay is who does work. The daily pay does just call them, one day half the money, I think they show you just go. I don't know them that we're getting them an increase for. So you're finding a next way to feed people who does nothing to help build or do anything in Trinidad and Tobago. That's why I make it clear. The MTS workers does work. The CPF workers does work. Okay, the driver you see them working. The monthly paid URP workers does do the work, but the daily pay does just run goes. It's like only goes. So what are you doing there? Them not contributing to helping do nothing for the country. What impact that having? Because it's a couple of them, when you get them back, they will vote for you. Even if you're in there, they're still running. 95% of the daily paid workers in URP does nothing. They'll just stay home and get paid. They don't get cut. They don't get nothing. They'll just get a salary for just putting down your name, and then somebody might call them and tell them I will have the money. This is the society we want to continue building under this wicked administration. But I want to work for my money. And I just work for mine. So you see the people who stay in and just get increase to do what? Nothing. And the next one calls them and tell them they don't have the money. That serves no purpose. That's the next downfall that's how Eric Williams had them from since inception. All they do work and just get paid. And when you get paid, you get somebody half your money. That making sense of our society? And this is where we act. With this PNM government, this wicked administration led by this devil, this man who didn't come with love, this man who come with hold on, this wicked black man, this blackest man in Trinidad, and they're telling we about some people talking about the budget was, if you say this budget is good, the cells in your brain dead. Because this is the last budget that they're going to read, and they're going to read it. And for 9 years, look, they didn't get the pensioners who have run up and down behind them. Where they get them? They get them nothing. No increase, nothing on food. Everything remained the same, and everything sky high. And just before the budget, I just go in the grocery. They just see the grocery, they just raise the grocery prices. Every budget under the stewardship of Dr. Wicked. Under my political leader, Kamala Prasad Visesa, 7,000 food items had no VAT. So your money, you had a little bit of purchasing power, and she also had people going wrong to find out if anybody is not doing what the government hand down, which is her government at the time, which is the People's Partnership. I am a witness of that. So this budget that they give we here, and people had the audacity to walk around and say that the budget was good because like it's only the meaning of $2.02. They don't have no meaning. Property tax. You hear what they say? They want to hold up on the reviewing how much money they find we should pay in the water rate and the light bill. So that just on a whole. So anytime they could just come around and say, well, bam, wanna take that. If I'm going to do the property tax, you know, the property tax they tell me, they're holding on it, and then they just come around and say, so bad. That's what they go do Trinidad. And I heard my opposition distinguished leader, the Prime Minister in waiting, told us that they tell us 2%, but he gave himself the power where the property tax should raise up to 10%.
Caller, can you hold on? I have another person on another line. Go ahead.
Okay.
So I'm just saying all this to say that this budget is the last budget that the PNM administration have read, And the people of Trinidad and Tobago, it's time for we to hit the streets. Mr. Lennox, you have a blessed one.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much. That's a comment to make on that scam, because this government is about scampishness and scams and schemes. But before that happens, let me take this call. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Yes, good night, Mr. Lennox Smith.
Hey,
I have
good
to
night
come
you.
in here.
Yes.
The other day I banned myself. I tell you, I ain't calling your program again.
Yes, you did.
But
you
I
did,
called
you
to
did,
tell
Yes.
you, tell me stop cussing people.
Yeah.
I stop cussing.
All right, great.
I cuss them enough.
All right, great. That's good.
Oh
That's
God, Lennox.
good. That's
You
good.
take it easy. All right, let's keep it quiet, all right?
Yes, we will.
I want to tell Mr. Faizabad good night. I know he listening. I call especially for that.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Mr. Faizabad, after you keep your protest up for long on every platform, asking for foreign observers, you know, myself as well, we keep asking for foreign observers. I used to say from the OAS, I get cussed. They say how Kamala can't go to the organization and write on the outside she breaking the law. But I know she ain't breaking no law. I know she within the law because she is the appointed opposition. No government ain't going to report themselves with the ills of the country to these organizations for anything. Kamala have full power. It have who say that Kamala she can write. Some sitting MP say that she can't do it. I said a lie. I have to clear up that one, Lennox, because I get too much a cuss for all kind of things that people don't know what they're talking about, especially the man from the United States giving me a set of talk. That was the last time I called on your program. I wonder how they're feeling when Miss Arima talk. You hear? They find Mr. Arima must be some kind of lawyer or some kind of MP to say these things. But all they must research. When people say something, all they must go and find out. Right? Check out the Inter-American Charter and you will see half of them laws that they're telling the government that the government have to change, where the opposition is who does bring it to the table, as they does say, right? The law on procurement legislation that they had to see to get the government to bring in our constitution. People will say, Kamala, bring up that. No, that is the law in the Inter-American Charter, the OAS Charter, where we had to tie in into our constitution, and they was to do it for many years. And the opposition will tell you they butcher the law, right? She need to explain to the people that we have to follow the laws in the charter. The laws in the charter say that we for procurement legislation, they're for equality. This way they want to tax people for property tax, and certain people is not to be taxed with this property tax. That ain't supposed to be so. She need to explain to the people that this law is an international law. And they can't be breaking the constitution with a simple majority to do the law how they want and say they have majority and how they're passing it without the support of the opposition. And she talking, getting beat up with them set of men inside a day, right? She is the one with talking the most and trying. And yes, look, I want to call name of these MPs, You hear? But Kamala ain't only supposed to write for observers. She need to complain about the breaking of the democracy in this country. She's supposed to complain about the crime situation and get international help in some form, whether they have to come in to guard the land, guard the sea, something. Once she begs, she's going to get help. They're looking at this country, at the way they're operating in the OAS, right? They is going to help Kamala. People still talking about, oh, we mightn't get the observers, and it's Rowley had to have the say. Rowley had no more say. She set up Rowley. In case all you don't know, Rowley gets set up. She write him first, and he don't say no. Right? He say no. First time he talk nice, and he say no in a nice way. Right? So he stand on that. And then she decide she's going to write to 16 organizations. That's what we have to talk about. I didn't even know it has 16. I know about 5, which includes the United Nations. Right? It had the Lima Group. It had the Carter Foundation. You know about that, Lennox. Right? So when she write to them, another one is the Commonwealth. When she write to them, they come in. They come in. He have no say. Yes, he mouth quiet. He ain't saying nothing. He can't even make an attack. His ass is grass. As Lennox does say, they're going to come. And we still ain't supposed to sit down. I keep saying protest, protest, protest. I get blows for that. But as I say, the time will come when people will understand and accept what I was saying all the time. The protest yesterday was nice. It looked good. It looked powerful. We have rights to protest. That's another law that's supposed to change under the Organization of American Charter. Right? People supposed to be not humbugged by no police, nobody, and go out and protest with the placards and demonstrate in a peaceful manner. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. But of course, we cannot argue against that position that was taken, and of course, Kamala Persad-Bissessar indeed has made some overtures as far as the elections is concerned, and observers, writing, of course, to the Prime Minister here first and foremost, and then, of course, I'm sure that she would have been communicating with other entities. Now, I cannot confirm that at this point in time, but I want to say that Rowley did that exact thing when he was opposition leader, calling for, of course, observers. You see, it has to be reiterated and it cannot be overemphasized. And it therefore puts another cog in the character and personality of Rowley as a dishonest person, as an undemocratic individual, operating with an entity that does not respect the democratic processes, and one can extend it to the rule of law, the separation of powers, and the non-interference of independent, constitutionally protected institutions in this country. They have infringed and disrespected and run afoul of all of these principles. For anyone, whether you are sycophant or whether you believe that the PNM can somehow extricate itself politically or electorally from the quagmire that it has put itself in by virtue of persons who believe that somehow to be in government is to be a dictator, is to be an autocrat. is to be a total rapscallion. Well, they have a lesson to come, and they better be prepared, because it is as constant or as inevitable as when they give way tonight and vice versa, or as constant as the Northern Star. It must happen. That we can be assured of. Evil, in other words, could never prevail over good. Evil could never prevail over good. So we will see, but I have always advocated that Kamala is not a stupid person. And the time would have come when all these overtures would have had to be made, just as me. For example, by Friday, I will be sharing with you what I did with respect, of course, to the EBC. Yes, to make them understand that this is not a fly-by-night and a partisan and a to your women fancy, and because you prefer, or your political preference is a particular party, whether it be the PNM or UNC, MSJ, etc., that because you are in an office that governs and manage and supervise the electoral process, that you could just so unilaterally utilizing your office. That is malfeasance in public office, you know. You can simply cause a particular party and or candidates to be in office. That is a piece of madness. You ought not to be there. Ms. Nasser Scope, you ought not to be there. Understand that. And we are going to scrutinize. We are going to microscopically observe, and from a bird's eye perspective and from a strategic perspective, we are going to insist and cause to materialize objective, fair, and free from fear elections in this country, in spite of the attempts to undermine by Rowley and those who are sympathetic to Rowley and that bunch of criminals within the PNM that are in government. We as the people must decide, and we must find ways and means by way of our actions. Because as someone said today, your works are not by talk. Talk is just one component. And whilst it may be the initial or the nascent or the embryonic or the beginning, the alpha, understand that action is better than words. And as one professor would have told me, an ounce of action is always better than a pound of talk. So talk is secondary. Primary is action. And we are going to, of course, take the opportunity. On the ground report, we have already, of course, projected. We have, of course, sent several salvo as to what we are going to do as an entity and members of the team as individuals to make certain we don't want any biasness. What we want is free and fair elections. Elections are free from fear. And those who are responsible for its administration, that they do so with the highest degree of objectivity, professionalism, and independence. That's all we ask. Do not for one moment try to shift the goalposts or try to shift the pendulum in favor of those that you prefer. Too bad if those you gravitate to or you prefer lost. But let the process be one of objectivity, be one of respect and professionally executed, so that at the end of it all, we can say the process, democracy would have prevailed and won out, because everyone would have been satisfied that the elections was done in a way that no one could claim that they were undermined or mistreated, and that the victor, those who come out as victorious, will be as legitimate as the process is expected to operate. Right now we have, and we can claim without fear of contradiction, an illegitimate government led by Rowley, a lame duck government. Yeah. A moribund government. A government that's shamed to lie down, in other words. We can say that, and that is wrong, and that is bad for any democracy. But Rowley has demonstrated that he is the quintessential and the ultimate hypocrite. You cannot be writing a letter like what I read today on the Ground Report. I'm going to play it during the course of the weeks and days ahead. And then you blatantly saying that you in considering having independent observers here in Trinidad. That's what you're saying? After you wrote a letter like that in 2015 about the then sitting government, Kamala Prasad said, that is why I said in conclusion that Rowley must be charged with treason. Treason. Having regard to his position as Prime Minister and his anti that position when he was opposition leader, getting on as if he's a true Democrat and really want. But what he wanted was to get to the position and then proceed to not only mismanage, not only misappropriate policies, programs, our funds, the distribution thereof, prioritizations for and on behalf of the country, and then telling us you want to continue in office to do us more harm. Well, I say when dishonorable people seek honorable office, the only outcome that could happen, as we are seeing today on a massive basis, is dishonorableness, conmanship, chicanery, criminal behavior, and we can go on and on. That is what we have seen, and never again in Trinidad and Tobago. Pleasant good night to welcome to the corridor.
Good night, Lennox. Silver Fox here.
Yes, my friend.
Lennox, what are this thing? Rowley is fighting for his survival, you know. The people of Tobago, the village he come from, after he lost election, he had to head out, you know. They don't
of course,
want him back in
I
the
am
village.
aware of that. Yes.
Right? They don't want Rowley back in the village. It's alleged, right? Rowley have place in Nigeria and Ghana. It's alleged, right? The Tobagonians talking. Let me tell you something. We are fighting against Rowley now. We're fighting against spiritual wickedness in high places.
Yes.
When Rowley was away, when you see the turn him 3 times, it has meaning, right? Because he done talking about what he gonna do for the next 5 years and next 3 years. He gonna give you something, right? He put himself like if he buried neighbor string there, right? So we have to get up. The Baptist people of Trinidad and Tobago,
All you need to walk the street and ring all the bell like what you used to do. All you get rid of that evil from the land. We lead that evil out of the land. We will be suffering if we don't do the right thing. You see, people studying, go Rowley, move Rowley, move Rowley. You see everybody afraid to tackle Rowley. They're afraid to go at him. If it's Kamala in power, Kamala be gone already. But Rowley in power, they're afraid. If they even come out for a little bit, they're going back in the hole. This man has something over this land. And it have if we don't come out and demonstrate and so forth on the street, let us come out with our Bible and hit the street with our testament, our Bible, right? So let me see how these policemen tear gas in us, talking the word of God, preaching the word of God. We have to get out there. These people are laughing at us. These people don't like us. They prepare themselves to run from this country to let already, you know. But we sitting down and taking everything, hands out, head out. If we said, fold your arm and put your finger on your lips, we're doing it. Why we afraid one man? Rowley is a human being. We have to get up there and for our survival, for our children's survival, for the children that are even born yet, we have to get out on the street. Like God help us. God help us. We have talked about God and God. But God said, go around, walk around and make noise. Walk around and make noise. And everything will be good. The wall have to fall. Walk around it and make noise. Right? We have to walk out there and make noise and let that wall fall. Lennox, it has things out there we are seeing, but we only watching at our big toe. Look beyond your big toe. Lennox is a spiritual Baptist. Look what you already did when he was away. Just think about it. And the 3 times he get up and sit down, where think he mean? It has meaning to it. It has meaning to shake hand. You know all of that, Lennox, right? I am Baptist too. Right? Lennox, we have to get out there. Lennox to save Trinidad and Tobago, we have to get out there. The people suffering. Lennox, the people suffering. And Kamala can win that election alone because the people suffering. The people suffering bad. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. That's a passionate plea for people to do the right thing. To do the right thing. And of course, advocating a collective effort. But there are individual efforts as well that each one of us ultimately must make. And that is with this finger. This finger, the ultimate responsibility, the ultimate arbiters, the ultimate jurors, the ultimate decision makers, the ultimate to administer punishment, the people individually. I am saying so against the background that those of you who have reached the age of 18 and those who will be so next year, before the election is called, at least in November of next year, get responsible. Get on board. The country you save will be your own. And the future you preserve will be your own. Those of us who are, of course, I wouldn't say in our twilight, but have had sufficient experience on the face of the earth, chronologically, biologically, we will go before you, in other words. But you will have to stay here. And if the damage that is being perpetrated, being conducted, being exercised by the Rowley administration, and clearly when one sees that debt to ratio GDP is in the vicinity of 80 to 90, moving towards 100%, when we see that our debt is in the vicinity of 60 billion or 600 billion, whatever number it is, I didn't take note of it. But the fact of the matter is that our children and our children's children will have to be paying that money whilst Rowley is comfortable where he is, giving Satan problems. We must resist, and we must say to them in all certain terms, this kind of nonsense must not prevail. The latest of which is in the budget. But what they had to say before are telling us now to wait until 2027, because from now until then is pain, ache, agony. I say to them, they told us that already before. Listen. They told us that already.
As I indicated, the economy is turning around. In fact, Madam Speaker, it has turned around. Revenue collection is up, Madam Speaker. The non-oil sector is growing, Madam Speaker. The energy sector is booming, Madam Speaker.
That is what he said. That is what we were told. Yes. That the energy sector is booming. And he had the audacity and the temerity, all of them. And you're going to see them, of course, in their delusion, illusions, and with frequent bouts of what? Yes, of mythomania. Mythomania, habitual lying. Mythomania. Level of deception is unprecedented, unknown to Trinidad and Tobago. And therefore, we have a duty and responsibility. Let me pause at this point in time to say, of course, once again, a pleasant good night to those who are surprised that we are on without any interruptions. I want to tell you that it was, of course, a very arduous task. It took money. It took the acquisition of new software. Yes, it took, of course, other things. There are one or two persons who are still sending the appropriate cameras. So from time to time, you're still getting some camera tweaks, and I don't want any roughage, if you want to call it that. Any grainy picture. I want to have a perfect picture as could be in the circumstance. We cannot spend and devote so much time to the software and the other upgradings that was necessary over the past 2 or 3 months that caused you to become frustrated and believe that somehow that will have been permanent. I say no to you. I say tenacity is a quality of the human spirit that cannot be daunted. I say to you that in the fullness and in the strides of the existentialist philosophy, that we are human beings and we control our destiny. And therefore, as Confucius would have said, that Chinese philosopher, the longest journey begins with a single step. But we also know of the poem, standing at the foot, gazing at the sky. How could you get up if you never try? And as the saying goes, try and try and try and try and try and try, and you'll succeed at last. Well, of course, that principle or those principles were applied to the experience of the ground report, and of course, myself at the helm, insisting that we have a program a program that is of high quality, a program that the contents of which cannot be refuted, and that the veracity of what we are saying cannot be condemned far less to be touched with the longest rod. That is what we offer to the people. I say to you at this point, share, share, share. I say to you at this point, subscribe, subscribe. I say to you, follow, follow, follow. Because, of course, a number of things will be happening. I want to tell you that not only would we have educational programs, particularly targeting the C students as well as CXC students in specific areas, but we have a program that deals with the provision of land, whether it's for agriculture or housing. Look forward to that. It's massive and it is easy. Professor, good night. Welcome.
Pleasant to night, Mr. Lennox, right?
Yes.
Just short and sweet, right?
Yes.
That caller make a lot of sense what he said there. But I just want to tell that caller, it has some Zulus out there, like myself. We don't afraid he, not even for a second. We don't afraid that Prime Minister, not even a little bit. So that's what the caller to know. He talk, good talk, but the time some we out there, we don't afraid Dr. Rowley, not even for a second. And it's just that.
Yes, man. I think at that point in time, I think we better revert to, of course, what we said earlier. They told us what they are now saying already. Listen to him, but again.
As I indicated, the economy is turning around. In fact, Madam Speaker, it has turned around. The revenue collection is up, Madam Speaker. The non-oil sector is growing, Madam Speaker. The energy sector is booming, Madam Speaker. And we reached a point as a country where we're into a zone now where we just can't continue to borrow money to finance what is called recurrent expenditure. Salaries and wages is recurrent expenditure. It's not productive sector, it's not capital expenditure. It doesn't create or stimulate economic activity per se. So that the point I am making is that right now we're struggling simply to pay current wages and salaries. That's the point I'm making. As I indicated, the economy is turning around. In fact, Madam Speaker, it has turned around. The revenue collection is up, Madam Speaker. The non-oil sector is growing, Madam Speaker. The energy sector is booming, Madam Speaker.
That is the comic that we have purporting to be Minister of Finance, led by a joker. It is as though they are auditioning for Larry Joseph or Tommy Joseph show. He was saying that back in around 2018, you know. Yeah. And he was saying that on the basis of what Kamla Persad-Bissessar and the UNC had put in place around 2012-13 thereabout, when they, of course, invited upstreamers, people who drill and put out their money, BP, Amoco, etc., in order to look for oil and gave them incentive. These nincompoops, these asinine specimens of inhumanity, meet something there, meet something in place. And if the circumstance under which or around which they had to make certain choices in the interest of Trinidad and Tobago, so be, because I heard them when they were saying that they went and negotiate in the boardrooms of these upstreamers and give him a patting himself on the shoulder, and of course you had Imsbert moving forward or coming forward in a similar scenario, giving Stuart Young and Rowley credit for something that, if sufficiently examined, if sufficiently extrapolated, you would see that it is hollow. It's a hollow attribution of credit. Let me focus in more specific terms. Here it is, Rowley, just as Kamla Persad Bissessar by 2014 saw a tremendous dip in oil and gas prices. It cut by half. But by that time, Kamla Persad Bissessar, the UNC, had employed or deployed or encouraged people these upstreamers to drill, to look for oil, so that you can expand the output once you discover. And they had to make certain decisions to encourage these upstreamers to come. Rowley and them against, right now, you hear them, they're against it. But let's go to the, I want to be as specific as possible and as lucid as possible, because I don't want you to miss a syllable. So let's take the call first. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Good night. California.
Hey, how you doing, man?
You what's up at working?
Huh?
You what's up at working?
What's up? Everything is working.
I call you any what's up, but I don't answer you.
Alright, okay. I'll have to shut it off and start back then. Yeah, but it is here open. But go ahead, yes.
Yeah, well, I was calling to say a couple things there, but I hope I have enough money to move around. Tell us,
yeah.
I hear this from today. He was talking about Rowley doing some kind of spiritual thing. And that's why he did for one thing. You know, I happen to sister was worried that they going in his family, okay? And she Rowley is the movie with a bag. That bag fixed. Wherever you have a six in a bag. But Rowley got a, when people are ready to move the out, they have to move. Because
yes, of course.
They keep the long outside already. Because he already know bad way. You understand?
Yes.
That's something I can call and tell you. But I will go down that road with you. You understand?
Yes.
But Rowley, she's naturally evil by it.
Yeah, of course. It's clear.
You understand?
Like he sleep that, he eat that, and he execute that with delight and precision. Yeah.
The very man is think alone by it. He's really rational by it. He don't like good. And if he like good, he may be understood it himself only. Because he will destroy anything in the partner. That's the kind of man he is. But if he wants to have that, he will go all outside. He's nothing but he'll stop people having that. And anything anyway, he will move it out. That's the kind of, he know evil. You see what he says, do Patrick Manning and then call for their own evil as they do the people right. You see what happened to Robinson played the consequences for way the same people when man finally win the election and they had a child. He removed Pandey and he put Manning, but that was the consequences after. He remained on bed and he couldn't get up and then he got denied. Right? The same thing happened with Manning. Manning right off Carney, and the same hand Manning right off Carney with. That turned back on him. You see, karma is I think people don't believe in it. But the same thing with the Hampton. You see all the people are crying in this country and always doing them. He turned come in. All the evil he's doing, that won't help him by. We take what you see people seeing the light now. That's all they need to see the light and come out of the darkness and keep focusing on the light and don't go back.
and he's only in the dark and you're going to see after they come out and then you're going to see how he's going to start tumble bumble go down here. Anyhow, I am going to take up too much of your time.
Yes, man. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your contribution. Yes, indeed. Yes. What were the, should I say, the deja vu scenario that I speak? He told us in uncertain terms that he is the best salesman for the country. He went out there in circumstances where, when Kamala and they were there, the country was in a different state of affairs. Because Kamala inherited a scenario where, while of course we were producing over 120 barrels of oil in 2008. By the time she left office or got the prime ministerial position, was about 64, there are about 1,000 barrels a day. But we'll go to the lines first. A pleasant good night. Yes, good night.
I've been trying to get in touch with you since after Silver Fox spoke to you.
Oh my goodness, sorry
but
about
I wasn't getting
they just told me
through
that something
yet.
might be wrong with the WhatsApp, so just
With the
checking out to see.
WhatsApp, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Lennox, I totally agree with Silver Fox. I totally agree. But Lennox, on the other hand, you are asking the people to come out, and they don't want to come out. What we supposed to do? We can't, for it's the same thing they do with elections. They would not go out and vote. They are too complacent, they are too lazy. They would not go out there and vote. So something to save their lives, and then after they want to complain, right? They want to complain. They not seen how damaged Rowley armor is, you know. They're only looking for the kings in Kamala's armor. Right? Like this, I had to call him a fool this morning. That fool this morning to go Kamala rocking from left to right. You ever see Kamala rocking? But it's so insulting. I don't know why some of these men they are like that. The words that came out of his mouth this morning was no different to Rowley. Was no different to Rowley. Why some of these men are so damn insulting towards Kamala? You would swear that they could do the job better. I don't know. She rocking from left to right. I've never seen Kamala rocking.
That is their tendency to be nasty as possible because of their political difference. When that has nothing to do with the humaneness that we should have to each other. But they don't get sick. They don't get sick, and so on and so forth. But go ahead.
No, they don't get sick, Lennox. They don't get sick at all. And I'll stray from what it is I was going to say. You were so irritated here tonight. Yes. You understand? But Lennox did this get me vexed. You know why? The lady, she's a good person. She has the best interest of the country at heart, Lennox. I've never seen anybody had that. All the things that she said that she was going to do, Kamala completed 85% of her manifesto. It's 5 years the lady had. We must remember that within that 5 years, all the things that were being stymied by PNM that were still in the various ministry, and to come to say, oh, she only making promises and where she got the money from. Now, if that is not ignorance, I don't know what is. That was total ignorance this morning. Rowley making promises, Rowley have money, but you would never hear the PNMIs talking so. You will never hear them. And Lennox, tonight I must say, although I'm still a little bit skeptical about this Philip Alexander, because we know the person, we know the individual, but tonight he spoke really, really well on Mikey's program. He did well on Mikey's program that People were calling me, people were texting me, hearing him over the past couple of days and whatever in support of Kamala, it giving us a little hope. You want to tell me yesterday there was a protest out here, right? Why the place wasn't packed? Lennox, I didn't know about that protest, eh? I didn't know about it. But it look as but I'm glad how they did it so that police would not have stopped them. I'm glad how they did it. You understand? And they came out with the placards and everything. Okay. Why it is, then they were saying, Mike, no, where was Michaela and Carol Griffith in that protest? Where were they? This is not about UNC. This is about the country, a budget that is being read for the country. They could have gone out there and shown their support, but they figure by doing that they will be showing support for the UNC. It's not about that. It's about the country. And then the first thing is, what about, oh, I for country? Prove it. Walk the talk. But you know, Lennox, as I said, I must say I admire what he's doing. And he said it tonight on Mikey's program. He don't want anything. Lennox, there's a background noise. Yeah. He said.
Yeah, the music player outside. I can't have that one. Well, go ahead.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want George Street, so you know what happened there.
Background.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I have to find a way to
he said he don't. He said he don't want anything. All he wants is to get rid of Rowley. Lennox, I could understand that. I can relate to that. I can be part of that. Because Rowley is destroying this country, and who want to yap and beat them out like a Hussein drum, right? About Kamala and looking for kings in Kamala armor, or they go right ahead. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. We have an election to win.
Yes.
We have an election to win. And Lennox, as I said this morning, I hope that $2 that they give them, CPEP workers, they save some out of it and they spend the rest wisely. Because Rowley and them feel that $2 is such a big thing. We're keep drawing thousands, hundreds of thousands in pension when the bitch resigned. When he resigned. Lennox, thanks a lot for listening to me. Take care and have a good night.
Simply, my dear, our external, of course, still external correspondence, always brilliant and always, of course, to the point. But I take a slightly different view tonight. As I've always said, I see the glass half full. And in this case, 98% full. So I'm not going to focus on the 2%. There was a development, and it was brought to my attention through the presentation of that caller this morning on the ground report, when he said that Indians were mainly out there. And I listened to find out what he would say Indians were mainly there, because the argument is that the Indians are not coming out. So I wanted to see how he would rectify that or rationalize it. You know what you end up saying? That, of course, is an Indian-based party. But you know, pushback movement, etc. You had either an over preponderance of Africans or a balance of Indians and Africans. And because of that, people were saying that the Indians are cowards and so on. But they were out there, and that is good. That's a good, very good observation, and a nice start to show that they have what it takes when it is required. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
This California here.
Yes.
I'm calling to clear up something with that lady when I'm calling.
Go ahead.
Right? I was looking at the live when Kamala was talking to the media, the people in the media, and she was telling them about the people should get 10%, the public servants should get 10% increase, and they should the CPEP, the next one should get minimum wage to go to $25. Right? It's the person who say that Kamala need to be stopped rocking like a boat, right? If the lady from Santa Cruz will understand what I mean by that, that she keeps it on it between she teeth and stay quiet.
No, just focus on the misunderstanding. Focus on the misunderstanding.
Let me tell you what I mean by that. When I say she needs to be stopped rocking like a boat, I mean to say she needs to focus and don't live on two different opinions and let people push she to do what they want she to do, and she needs to stand for my Rachel said that this morning.
Right, good, okay.
That is what I mean. I didn't mean she drunk or she drinking rum.
Yeah.
That's the truth. That's what she think I mean, but
very good clarification. Very good. Yes.
So let me clear up that with that lady because I was here. She talking on the radio. She like Bacchanal. Yeah, be a coming in
that's a good day.
I make a point and say, listen, you see the whole real thing we come to bring up in the last election and how much clarification she had to give on that. That is what I was trying to show she that she needs to focus and stop limping on two opinion and focus on what you have to do and forget about all the other things. Use it
I take your point. I take your point and I understand that. I'm sure many would have understood that clarification.
Right. She's the person that they elect. She's the person in charge or in control of the UNC. That is not my problem. That is she problem. You understand? People want to vote for she. That is she and the people problem. They want she back in government, fine. I don't have a problem with that. But what I was saying, you see that thing what happened in the last election? That so she to go to road or she wait to explain that Oreo thing. We don't go down that road again. Focus on let she do what she has to do and tell her.
Also no abundance of caution. Alright, you made the point.
I'll take she does too.
Yeah, okay. You made the point. Thank you very much. Yes, people.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, all 5 judges of the Privy Council decided that a change in the length of the terms of office of the incumbent councillors and aldermen did not amount to a contravention or breach of any provision of the Constitution. This decision, studiously arrived at, did not prevent some of my colleagues in this House and some elements in the media from continuing to accuse the government of Trinidad and Tobago of breaching the constitutional rights of citizens. To this accusation, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the government pleads not guilty.
The election of representatives for a fixed or maximum period is the foundation on which a democratic society is built. It is inimical to a representative democracy that the representatives are chosen by anyone other than the electorate. If the relevant amendments were to apply to incumbent representatives, the effect would be that the government...
Yes, let me just return. Let me pause that video and return. I was just focusing on the ability or the tendency of this government to undermine the electoral process because the election coming up, and I wanted, of course, for people to understand the principle of the Privy Council accusing, of course, the government of breaching the Constitution, yet still Rowley will go to the Parliament and say otherwise. But go ahead, my friend.
Being matters or like with him on his side, you understand? But when it negatively impacting he going and running remote and saying Caribbean Court of Justice, they what they want. But we see that Caribbean Court of Justice is like kind of flimsy looking court. But as far as I'm concerned, those judges they are not up to the standard they want in England. Right? And furthermore, there is another friend and family people there. When they go up in England, these judges, you're not acquainted with them. So they can give a fair and unbiased judgment on whatever they do. Not these judges down here. I see some judgment is the worst. And you have to question these things. You get the Bacchanal label just how they boil Lennox.
Yeah.
But Lennox,
hey.
You ain't tell me you get the contract to bring in the 500 car.
Well, they won't give it to me for sure because I will scream that if a car can cost $1 million.
Yeah, the car might be worth 100,000 and it could be $1 million. So
well,
the 500 car might be 500 million.
Yeah, cameras that could cost that are costing about $30, costing over
25 million.
over 50,000 and several thousands Only in the context of Trinidad.
25 million Lennox, and this procurement body sit down like mugs, and nobody in questioning that.
Yeah.
How the hell they could bypass the procurement authority to get them cameras just like that? Who following the pocket with that $25 million? I think they may gain $24 million because all the cameras they might get is under $1 million to pay for that. Somebody gain 24 million Lennox, and out of that, something kicking back down the road. But you know, the people of this country deserve what they get in Lennox. Any hardship coming in the future, they deserve that too. Because they sit down there quiet, and they would watch all these things happen under their regime. But if Kamala Day, Monday morning, Sunday morning, they in front of the Red House, they down the street, they with placard in their hand, they bowling Red Army, Green Army, all kind of damn army. Yeah? You can remember the Section 34 thing? All over the place, Abdullah, all of them. And Rowdy and all these farmers from down in Chagarama's Day, up and down the place. All this transport taking place under this A&M regime. And nobody ain't questioning them. Everybody sit down quiet like Mariana Little Lamb. I'll tell you now, all these things will come up and bite them in the backside because they are little imbecile who they pretend is a finance minister, cooking the books and making a sort of mispronunciation in parliament for the last 10 years. That man have a balanced budget. Always deficit. Over $85 billion a year, the former prime minister say. It could be more than that because he will come next year for another supplementary about $2 or $3 billion. So added on top of the 59, he will have me $3 more billion. And that is the scheme that's coming. Right?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah.
And he can never run this country right. Never. Always some shenanigans. And I tell you, at the end of the day, the poor people who feel the brunt of that. Because you see the scheme we come with that budget yesterday. No taxes at all on nobody because he fattened up the chicken or the goose or the cow, whatever it is.
Yeah. The calf for the slaughter.
Right. So if they get back in office for the next election, it's crap or smoke everybody pipe because the rat and that man will come down with.
I am extremely optimistic that in my view is an impossibility. And I will have to say that the only so that impossibility can materialize that everybody has to go out and vote. I don't have to say, but of course we need to reiterate, we need to reinforce right down until election day itself because people must be focused, laser focused.
They can't be blind for the last 10 years, though. They can't be that blind.
No.
10 years, you want more.
There have been enough evidence
to
the contrary, yeah.
The man could get 3 more years of hardship. 3 more years in a while.
Hardship that he created. Hardship that he created.
I'm
blaming
the population.
On more.
I'm blaming the population for all the foolishness that they're doing. It's them mismanaging the economy, and you want to pay for it. Just imagine that. You want to enjoy the trouble you're seeing now because of them mismanagement of the economy. Everything is important and goes up, Every blasted thing. They never divest the economy and they only depend on oil and gas, right through. They never put in a stabilization fund when they found wealth. And look at the condition in place. We had no savings at all. We had $5 billion savings. We're propping me up right now. And we had that, it would be a different story. They rip out all the rails from the east-west corner down to San Fernando, and remove that. And years later, they come and they put a monorail, and I had a feasibility assessment of $500 million. Somebody get and go on with it. You can never see stupidness like that.
Yeah.
Is it in this country the condition it in? If they had added onto the rail, also you know that tracks running there with a good train. You would have nothing there because the tracks already there. You just have to improve on the.
But he told us that he will only interfere with subsidies when adequate public service transportation system is in place. And of course, he was saying that at the time when the existing situation, as far as transportation is concerned, public transport subsisted the same. It has not changed. So therefore, it was a blatant lie on top of the multiple lies that he would have told us over the last 9 years and counting. But go ahead.
9 years? The 10th year now, in October.
All right,
9 years old in August. In October, the 10th year now.
10 years.
The 10th fiscal year. You understand?
Yes.
Then I read them watches for the 10th parliament. 10
times. Okay, my friend.
These people have the goal somewhere along the line.
Yes.
I know when they go call the election, but when they badge properly fill, then they go call the election with the gimmick tree.
Yes.
They can't fool me, they go fool the old people because they had to wait 3 years. Understand?
Okay.
They go wait 3 years, someone go end up in the grave for that.
I hear you. But I was making the point, and you notice when I hear things like that, people will. I am not that pessimistic. I see the glass, as I say, 98% full. It means therefore that 2% is irrelevant. I would say some people, I will use terms like some people, a minority, a group that will gravitate to the PNM that is a dying breed. I would use that. I would say they're almost extinct. But to me, it is an injustice to say that people will still go on when we know for a fact that the victory of the UNC and Kamala Persad-Bissessar is inevitable. So therefore, I wouldn't want to use words that will reduce the magnitude of the victory. Let me repeat that. I will not want to engage in words that will reduce the magnitude of the victory. Victory is assured, we know. But they say people are not listening, and people are listening to Rowley, and so no. That ought not to be the narrative. The few, the limited amount, the vastly reduced amount, that group that is nearing extinction. And of course, like me, I would normally say that even the devil has its imps, not even disciple. I wouldn't use that term with a fellow like Rowley. It's imps. Imps, of course, children of the devil. That's why I was so hurried. I hastily had to cut that conversation short. And you notice with me that when conversations like that come up, I feel compelled to not denounce, but to make an intervention. And then I would say that the PNM is not invincible. I would say that they are highly fallible electorally. And then, of course, go right back to 1986 to the Treaty, and then, of course, in 1995, and then, of course, in 2000, and then, of course, in 2010, and then, of course, in 2022 in Tobago, decimated, and then, of course, the increasing ascendancy and the depreciation and the descendancy of the PNM as far as local government is concerned, as the Kamala Persad-Bissessar and the UNC rise. That is consistent with not just the psychology, but the motivation for the people to go out there. And those at the same time who still have some kind of residual, notice the words I'm using, residual sympathy for the PNM, including those who are now benefiting because of 30 pieces of silver, Judas's. The time will come when they too will abandon this sinking ship called the PNM. That is the kind of language that we must be using now. It must not appear to be for one moment. Let Rowley and they wallow in their delusion and illusions. Let them wallow in their misery. Let them wallow in their in the script a sense of self, a sense of significance, when in fact they are irrelevant, ocious. So I don't use those words. And when, of course, those words come up, I would be the first, of course, to say and talk about my famous analogy. I see the glass 98% filled. So you cannot say people are still. No. People tells me that you're talking about everybody, and I'm saying no, it's not so. It's a vast minority. I don't want to lecture, but people, of course, have their own style, and if they want to insist, fine. But I will make it my duty to disabuse and to rectify and to motivate and to say that the victory of the UNC is assured and inevitable. Why must I put any what I consider to be infection in the ointment? Why? Why must I reduce the potency of the ointment? No, I will not. And words have powerful impact on the human beings. Yes, indeed, because in the beginning it was the Word. Notice that. And the Word became what? Flesh. Understand that. Let's go back to Dr. Rowley and his undermining of the electoral process, and of course castigated by the Privy Council. As whilst he was saying that he did not do anything wrong, they were saying that he tried to usurp, undermine, and take over the role of the electorate, you and I, to of course choose our elected representatives in a democratic environment, in a democratic tradition of electing our what? Our leaders. Let's go back.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, all 5 judges of the Privy Council decided that a change in the length of the terms of office of the incumbent councillors and aldermen did not amount to a contravention or breach of any provision of the Constitution. This decision, studiously arrived at, did not prevent some of my colleagues in this House and some elements in the media from continuing to accuse the government of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, indeed. A pleasant good night. Welcome once again.
A pleasant good night. A pleasant good night again, Lennox. Yes. A pleasant good night to you and to your listeners and them. Yes. Lennox, yes. I like what you just said there. That your words have impact. You see, this is what happens when people come and just want to talk. Oh, I'm on the radio station, or I'm here, there, and everywhere. I can talk and I can ramble, I can say what I want. But you said it nicely, dear. Your words have impact. And it was the lady who said this morning, the lady caller, that there were more Indians and less Africans. That's not true. Because after I called somebody who were there, and they said, no, it was a nice mixture.
Okay.
It was a nice mixture.
Yeah.
You
but
understand?
even if
because
it was Indians alone, it would belie the fact of some too many and too regular claiming, even on my own, I accuse at least one of my colleagues of that as well, that the Indians are not coming out to support. So I thought that was a refreshing disposition.
No, Lennox, it's true.
Yes.
No, that is what you said is true.
Yeah.
That's what it, because in my opinion, when we go out there,
yes,
we get more Africans.
That's right.
We see it.
That's right.
And that's why you can say that.
That's right.
That's why you can say that.
Yes.
We get a lot more Africans, but what the person told me when I called them and I asked them, because somebody who invited me, right? They called me and invited me. If I'm not going on, I didn't know about the protest, right? But I couldn't go because I just reached home from the clinic, which was about 11:30, 12, and I was really tired. And then the weather started changing, and then I called the person and I asked her, say, what was the thing like? They said it was a nice mixture. Now I understand what the person tell me, right? I understand what it is the person told me about being a nice mixture. But one thing I must say, Lennox, and you are right in that, you hardly get the Indians and them coming out. You hardly get them coming out. Because even when we went on the last one we went to, and we went by the express, and then we went across to the other places, right? You could see it. It was, I would say, it was about 8-1.
Right.
8 Africans to 1 Indian. You understand? I would say that,
No,
because I always...
and that's why I was delighted and was compelled to make the comparison and to say that it is refreshing and it belies the idea, if it is that the majority around the parliament were Indians, it means therefore that there has been of course reconciliation and a sort of a ratio balancing, let me put it that way.
Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised.
And
but
that's a good sign.
Usual,
that's a good sign. Very good sign. Yeah.
Yes, it is, Lennox.
Yes.
Because you always hear them. And I mean, I talk with them. I talk with people, right? They're afraid to go because their car getting wrecked. Because you remember my friend the last time we were wrecked.
Yes.
And only had to drop him. Only had to drop him to get the car. Right? And I wait there for him to come back and pick me up. Yes, you and Mikey were there, and they drop him to get the car. You understand? They pray they get the car, but he going. But now we learn a lesson. We would travel. I would meet him at a certain point, and we would travel down, and we would go down. You understand? That's how you're supposed to. You like nothing stop you, Lennox.
Find strategies to do because the mission and the objective is greater than any other thing. So therefore, you have to find ways and means of achieving that goal.
To get there. To get there. Right? Because Lennox, I saw a couple of black band Max taxis, right? I saw it on the video. They were there because Meru and all of them were there.
And belie the notion that Indians are not coming out. No, we are all in this boat together and subjected to the iniquities of this government. All of us together.
Lennox, it's brotherhood on the boat.
That is what happens.
It's brotherhood on the boat, Lennox.
That's right, brotherhood.
We don't want no racists. We don't want no haters.
That's right.
It's brotherhood on this boat to remove that rowdy government. Lennox, I could not believe that this man stood up there for 5.5 hours and produced that crap.
I thought that's right.
And produced that crap. Yes.
Yeah, that putrid. Yeah. But as I said on the ground report this morning, is a blessing in disguise because Kamla Prasad Bisesa would now have enough time to not only critique what he would have said, but present her own budget. So,
her own budget,
so when you believe...
Because this is what and Lennox, I couldn't believe any after the press conference that they had. Immediately, she was exposing them. Yes.
She was reading from a document that they anticipated. Well, I have to say they anticipated what he would have said. So she had a pre-prepared speech, waited for the after budget commentary,
and she exposed it. You promised this and this time, and this is when you up to now you have not delivered it. You promised this and this time, and still have not delivered it. They are lying to the people, Lennox, and you have not heard one word about repairing the schools and fixing up the schools to send all these children to school.
Neither local government reform. Neither. that was
all
a big
you are
thing.
hearing is
Conmen and
more vanity
conwomen
projects.
in the PNM. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more vanity projects than anything else we're hearing. How long we have been hearing that thing in Maruga to be built? The Togo Highway or the port or whatever it is. How long we have been hearing it, Lennox?
I
Since
have
time
a different term
immemorial.
for those projects. They are slush funds. When you're
Yeah,
emphasizing
yeah,
on community center and library and the tennis courts and so on, like what transpired in Bagatelle and so on, that is about the people are hamburging them from lining their pockets because it's slush fund to, of course,
slush fund, yeah.
to execute an election and to, of course, improve their own circumstances unmeritoriously. In other words, by criminal conduct in public office.
Yeah. So you see, Lennox, Balizé house have to finish before elections are called.
So by any means
necessary.
Slush funds. That was
by any means
those
necessary.
are not vanity projects. Those are slush fund projects designed to flush their pockets so as to finish projects such as
Balizé house. Yes. That's right. That's right. It has to finish. And Lennox, you see, this is my bone of contention. Talk about all the kings in Rowley and them armor, not Kamala own. Stop searching for kings in Kamala armor.
Yeah.
Stop it because the lady is doing a very good job. Lennox, don't you find so?
Well, it's not only I know so, and more than that, there is no evidence. There is no evidence advanced by the people who ought to have the evidence because they are in office and they have demonstrated that they are prepared, of course, to literally and should I say abstractly kill their political opponents, and they have not been able to do so. So it is clear that they lied to the people, and even if they didn't, they had an opportunity, too many, to apologize, and they have not done so. So therefore, they must face the consequences of their mismanagement, their conmanship, and their misbehavior in public office, and the abuse of the treasury of the country by virtue of the criminal and civil laws.
Lennox, before I leave,
go ahead.
Right? Before I take my leave, we hearing every Monday night, we hearing Mrs. Prasad Bissessar rolling out part of the manifesto.
Yes.
Right? Every Monday night, you hearing it, I hearing it, everybody hearing it. But yet still, they will come Tuesday morning, from Tuesday to Friday, and say, what is Kamala doing? What is Kamala doing for the country? What is she going to do when she get here?
Yeah, and I want to tell you, the few of them, it ain't even a handful. Let us not waste time. It ain't even a half a handful of them that would make those statements. So we know. So therefore, I would not focus or give credence or whilst I will acknowledge. It needs to be said.
Yeah.
Right? And be refuted. But it must not say that. Yeah. I wouldn't say they. I would say the few of them. The nebulous amount. That kind of talk, I that will resonate with me at least, and I'm sure that persons who are listening and understand the psychology of words and of course the choice of words.
But Lennox, will,
of course,
you remember.
Go ahead.
It took one man,
yes,
with fake emails that sowed that seed, and everybody believed it.
That's right.
Even a man like Vento. Man like Vento.
yes. I went to talk on him this morning.
Yes, this morning. Even one man sowed that seed of doubt in people's mind. So if you talked about a handful, you know what's going on there, Lennox?
No,
that is why we have to keep refuting it.
Over time. You see, enough time has passed for we to stop talking about a large amount. It has to be a dying amount.
I start talking about that, yeah. Now
enough time has passed.
So
all of them know. That's why one or two will come on the program and talk that kind of hogwash. Therefore, that cannot represent the real numbers that are out there, that are in their masses.
That are out there, listen. Yeah, because people getting wise now,
That's right, that's right. I'm in a position to know that. You in a position to know that. Right?
Yeah.
Because we have been in the vineyards over these years. Yes.
Right. And Lennox, one of the things that I keep pushing, and I don't care who vexed, I pushing it. I am here to correct misinformation, and you see what it is that man Dr. Farrell did? Yes. You see what Dr. Farrell did? Man, that is a victory for us. That is a victory for us. Lennox, thanks again for listening to me.
Yes, man. Yes. And thanks for, of course, coming back in so that we could have this exchange. I think it's very healthy and very rewarding for those who are listening and less endowed, because everybody is not at the same level. Let's not waste time intellectually, even materially, even financially, and so on and so forth, even family-wise. Some people have big families, some have very small, and some have all kinds in between. But let's go back, of course, to Dr. Rowley and his clear case of undermining the democracy of the country and his propensity to not have, and why he could explain he doesn't want, of course, observers, because he wanted to thief the elections. He wanted to stay in office, do us evil, incompetent, impotent, like a typical criminal, and he must dole out to us the evil that he would concoct and manufacture on a daily basis, possibly nightly basis, because I understand he don't sleep.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, all 5 judges of the Privy Council decided that a change in the length of the terms of office of the incumbent councillors and aldermen did not amount to a contravention or breach of any provision of the Constitution. This decision, studiously arrived at, did not prevent some of my colleagues in this House and some elements in the media from continuing to accuse the government of Trinidad and Tobago of breaching the constitutional rights of citizens. To this accusation, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the government pleads not guilty.
The election of representatives for a fixed or maximum period is the foundation on which a democratic society is built.
Yes, indeed. Listen to the Privy Council saying something totally contradictory, opposed, diametrically opposite to that which Rowley claimed, that he did not contravene the Constitution. Listen carefully and you will understand. When they said categorically that the government make themselves the electorate and postpone elections at their whim and fancy, contrary to our right to vote.
Mr. Deputy Speaker.
The election of representatives for a fixed or maximum period is the foundation on which a democratic society is built. It is inimical to a representative democracy that the representatives are chosen by anyone other than the electorate. If the relevant amendments were to apply to incumbent representatives, the effect would be that the government, rather than the electorate, had chosen those representatives for another year. If the relevant amendments were to apply to incumbent representatives, the effect would be that the government, rather than the electorate, had chosen those representatives for another year. Local is the foundation on which a democratic society is. The election of representatives for a fixed or maximum period is the foundation on which a democratic society is built. It is inimical to a representative democracy that the representatives are chosen by anyone other than the electorate. If the relevant amendments were to apply to incumbent representatives, the effect would be that the government, rather than the electorate, had chosen those representatives for another year. If the relevant amendments were to apply to incumbent representatives, the effect would be that the government, rather than the electorate, had chosen those representatives for another year. Local government elections should have been held by March this year. Local government elections should have been held by March this year.
I want to make it abundantly clear that the government has no choice but to accept the ruling of the Privy Council.
That's right. You have no choice but to accept the rule of the Privy Council. And then they said he was talking last year. So, of course, the Privy Council was talking last year. And he was saying, of course, that it was supposed to be held by March last year. When they gave the judgment, Rowley quickly, of course, and they sanitized, for want of a better term, those persons, those councillors, they had to go to Parliament and have a rectification session so as to justify or to regularize those councillors and other officials in the local government fraternity or system, to justify, one, their presence beyond the time for the elections, and two, the monies that they would have gotten as a consequence of that extension, led by this nincompoop, anti-democratic and anti-elections government and party called the PNM, led by, of course, such a person that can only be described in equal terms, Keith Christopher Rowley. Yes, indeed. Don't waste time. Don't waste time. He lied to himself again and the nation by going to the Parliament as his Attorney General did. As his Attorney General did, talking the same kind of language, fooling themselves, convincing themselves. Imagine a big lawyer, so he claimed, a SC, of course, when it is convenient, he say he's a junior, like when he was in the United States, perjuring himself. He said he was a junior. In Trinidad, he wants to be seen as a senior. But talking the judicial hogwash that in Trinidad, the High Court, the Appeal Court, and one member of the judicial panel agreed with them, and therefore that is a 3-2, and somehow he extracts, like somebody trying to take blood from a rock. He extracts some kind of victory for the government in the nation state. That is how bamboozled he was, and how stupefied he was and continues to be with the nonsense that they speak. And he knows the rule of precedent, you know. He knows that what happened prior, when the judicial boss, the apex court, are talking about the Privy Council speaks on a particular matter. In other words, adjudicates on a particular matter. That nullifies, neutralizes, renders null and void and of no effect what transpired before in any court below them. But no, they're trying to hold on to that dribble called PNM sycophants and sympathizers, and trying, of course, to look intelligent, when in fact, when you examine the horns, a bunch of not just nincompoops and asinine specimens of inhumanity, but of course, people who are dishonest, flatly and conspicuously dishonest, and disingenuous is an understatement. That's what it is. I'm trying to gaslight the people coming into the Parliament now and telling us that he ain't infringed nothing. You're trying to stop an election. You're trying to prevent the people from voting because your political fortunes were in the balance. And just as how you went to the Parliament in the same vein, they really say a dog that's sucking egg, it's very difficult for them to change their ways. And so he went to the Parliament and he did what? He bring legislation to add 3 seats to the Tobago House of Assembly and get his ass properly washed, cooked, and beaten. Washed, cooked, and beaten. Yes. So whether you want to say it is parboiled, whether you want to say it was simmered, whether you want to say it was broiled or fried, it's curtailed anyway. Yes, people. But I think we should go and look at the nature of the PNM. The nature of the PNM. And its destructive force. And that our savior must be Kamla Persad-Bissessar under the UNC. I will speak at the back of the video that I will now be advancing to you. Yes, indeed, Kamla Persad-Bissessar must be our savior. Because she did it once between 2010 and 2015. Look at there. She was the one where we felt comforted, happy. 7,000 items, no VAT. Christmas, you could look forward to one. And then came Rowley and his crushing, destructive PNM. Look what has happened. Since Rowley and the PNM, TNT has become a brittle, dark, and hideous place. Yes, indeed. Look at there, man. Brittle, dark, and hideous. And a haven for what? For death. A haven for death, corruption, and what again? Hidden. And economic ruin. Yes. A haven for death, corruption, and economic ruin. That is the Rowley administration that came. But of course, at the end of the day, salvation will come. And Kamla Persad-Bissessar clearly will be the one to come out of the, or put another way, to arrive as the phoenix from the ashes that would have been created by the destruction of the PNM, rendering Trinidad and Tobago a dark and brittle and of course corrupt and economically ruined place. Yes, indeed. Brittle, dark, and hideous place under a Rowley administration. They are ugly outside, they are ugly inside, and they have developed ugly, brutal policies and programs. And then, of course, we expect that by 2025, in the 2025 elections, here comes the phoenix, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, as she rise and restore beauty and elegance and, of course, fortunes and peace and quiet back to Trinidad and Tobago across the board. Yes, indeed, that is the outcome we expect. Yes, indeed, people. Yes, indeed, people. I trust that you enjoyed that piece of narration at the back of that clip that demonstrates evil versus, of course, good, righteousness, and beauty. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Well, you know I'm going to enjoy that.
Yes.
No. Listen to this, Lennox.
Go ahead.
You have so many callers that call ask what plan Kamla have and all this kind of thing. Watch me. Kamla ain't about to show no plan. All of you know what Kamla really bad.
That's right.
And she could do it again.
Yes.
And you also know whatever plan is already got better. Look what the country do. The zilch, country crash, everything match up. Ask about Rowley plan. Why Rowley plan match up the whole country? It's the same thing I'm watching right now in the United States. You have to watch my Fox News, right?
Yes.
Nobody here wants to hear what Kamala Harris could do, you know. Now they're talking, we know what Donald Trump could do. So Donald Trump is the everywhere right now. Go to front. It's the same thing, position Kamala in. Come and say you want to me. Well, you know, I could already be able to tell because the PNM have no idea.
That's right. They have demonstrated that. They have practicalized it. They have of course, abstractly and physically shown that they are incapable, policies and program-wise, misappropriating of every damn thing, and ought not to have been in office in the first place. That must be the consensus.
And the man talking the same thing over and over in the budget.
Yeah, because he wants to stay there for 5 hours, telling them in advance that he's here for a long time.
Yeah.
He wants to break a record. He wants to break Eric Williams' record. These buffoons, these asses, I mean, if forces were... Anyhow, go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, to get damn thing. I saw Mariano brother never did it tonight. I hear exactly what he said.
All right, I'll find out.
To me, that's what he said, is a budget, entire budget.
Yeah, you can make any media review and give you some kind of some kind of continuation of that hogwash and concoction, or should I say an amalgamation of failed policies, unfulfilled promises, and we can go on and on.
Mariano Gono is crap for it, we're talking. Eh?
Yes.
At one time he had said, what was the new kind of finance, Minister of Finance?
Yes.
But I mean, this PNF just have to hold back. But we who know better, is know that the only cannot go in the country.
That's right.
And like I say, she could, I have a plan,
that set of, or that part of the country that knows that it's Kamala is in the vast majority, in the vast majority, yes.
But they just have a pass for 4 months. Shame out that they look going to do there. Because they're trying to get ideas of that.
Yeah, and the opposite is the case with Rowley. The vast minority knows that he is incompetent, impotent, and a total, absolute criminal that somehow Manning allowed to be foisted upon us.
Well, Manning could do better.
Yeah.
Manning couldn't do better. They forced that on Manning.
Yeah.
But
he orchestrated that. The 1%ers that he hoodwinked as well in the West to castigate and malign and undermine Manning.
But here the greatest, imagine I dream Rowley last night.
Yeah.
I showed me head. I said, oh, your hair so nice, and my hair can't. And my hair good. I said, but you are not here. I said, we're talking about. So I said, well, I played 2 marks in morning.
My goodness.
34 for Chin and 36 for Jackass. Because they scored only at that.
I hear you.
You know they play 26.
Oh my goodness, alright.
They play only.
Sure, right.
I said, but when you talking about you, I don't hear you matching up your head next time anymore.
I hear you.
That's just a little talk by the way.
Yes.
But Lennox, it have no way anybody in their right mind will vote for the other.
No way in the right mind. I agree with you. That's why I speak of vast minority. And the devil will have, of course, his imps. Not angels, his imps. And therefore, he will get some support. But the vast majority of the people will certainly deliver at minimum a 26 to 27 victory at the polls to Kamala and the UNC.
Well, I hope so. When you're
but it could be a Tobago relived. It could be a Tobago relived.
Yes.
In areas that the PNM would believe that they are solid. Rowley is so damn toxic and destructive that even Lavantil may well call it a day. They would have had enough.
But when I see that, I'm going to believe that.
Yes, I agree with you, my friend.
But what you do for me? I know you and your opposition leaders talk all the time.
Yes.
I want Philip Alexander to go and tackle the seat where you and Fat Boy was.
Yes.
in material and blew him out of because I don't feel it doing easy.
Yeah.
You remember when you was in Fat Boy?
Yes.
And all the white people come out and say, they say, "Four Prime Minister come down there."
Yeah.
All the old people, I wanted to talk to the opposition guy. Philip Alexander, you want for that position there?
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Yeah, let's blow him what from the boy.
Yeah.
Philip Ali know how to do that. Right?
Yes.
So we go see what happens tomorrow.
Yes, my friend. Well, until tomorrow, because of course we have come to the end now.
I get the last call,
yeah. Now 3 minutes past 10. So that's it. We say 1 hour, but we regularly will go until 10. So we.
You know you can't know 1 hour this program.
Yeah, I know that. All right,
too
my friend.
much people like the program.
Yes, we'll see tomorrow. Bye bye. Yes. Yes, people. Of course, that is the end. That's the last caller. Of course, quite an interesting program tonight, indeed, as we, of course, reminisce and at the same time verify some of the facts that Rowley and they will not want us to know. The backsides are palpitating. Yeah, they are now in a vice grip of with no wiggling room. Yes, indeed. That is where we are with these people. And we are going to intensify, and we are going to roll them back, and we are going to push them straight into whatever destructive construct there is to make certain that they never again raise their ugly, wicked, nasty, avarice, and distasteful head in the politics of Trinidad and Tobago again. That is the objective. That is the ultimate. But the first stage is to get rid of them at the polls on the next occasion. We have, of course, examined the fact that Rowley would be reluctant to have observers, but we will force him so to do. And of course, he would know that he would have been part and parcel of his own demise politically. And waiting, of course, for blue lights and what? Silver bracelets. People, have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. See you tomorrow morning on the Ground Report. Don't forget, from tomorrow, I said I will add, we have quite a lot of land to sell. And of course, knowing me as I do, I'm acting as an activist, and I'm going to tell you, very, very affordable. So in these times, you need to secure a home. Those of you who don't have one, and I'm sure it's many of us, but we have quite a lot of land across the country that we will be, of course, offering for sale, but under terms and conditions that you would love. Trust me, you would love. But we'll deal with that tomorrow night as part and parcel of the Corridor Transformation Program. I will mention it in brief on the Corridor Transformation because I want to be totally in charge of that project because it's something that I think all human beings, all Trinbagonians, after all, food, shelter, clothing are the basics for life. But shelter is so damn crucial because you have to have a place secure to rest your head in the night. More so calling it your own rather than having to rent. Even if you're renting, we should be able to work out an arrangement with these lands for you and, of course, assist in the construction thereof. Notice we have not approached HDC, even though the government has some kind of arrangement, because we believe that those who really need it and can make the effort, we must consider them and leave some portion of it for them. Right? So look forward to that. Apart from, of course, the educational programs as far targeting the C students and the CXC students on the Corridor Transformation. It means, therefore, we'll have to have during the day programs as well, particularly on a weekend, or just after school at a particular convenient time after we make allowance for students doing their chores, and whether they have chores or not, we will have that in consideration, because we don't want it to be said that we are disrupting the chores of the young people because of the time that we would be engaging them. So if they come home, school overs at 3, they should be home by 4, give an hour, half an hour more. So by 5 o'clock, 5:30, we are targeting the timing of our program to be around. And of course, in all of these, mommy and daddy will be informed as to the lands that we have for their consideration. And as I said, it will be very affordable in more ways than one. But the proof of the pudding is in, of course, the rollout. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. And see you tomorrow morning. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. A wonderful night. Yes, indeed. I'm very, very, very elated. And it has been a pleasure, of course, working with you.
But sadly, Eric William passed away. The ship hit rough water that day. Someone turned the bridge over to a captain named Chambers. Me blood crawl, things start to fall. Hold me head when I sail a fall. Captain, this ship is sinking. Captain, the seas are rough. Oh yes, we gas tank almost empty, no electricity. We oil pressure reading low. Shall we abandon ship, or shall we stay on it and perish slow? We don't know, we don't know. Captain, you tell me what to do. Whoa, whoa.
This is a story about a country called TNT that turned yellow in the year 2020. The people want the UNC. The people need the UNC. The people want the UNC. The people need UNC. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. My people have no fear. Anti-Kamla is here. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. Salute! No, give the finger in the end. South for the UNC. East for the UNC. West for the UNC. Give the finger in the end. South for the UNC. East for the UNC. West for the UNC. Agriculture people can make a living under the rolling PNM and we only suffering. Look the thief out the treasury and pull their pocket. Crowley and the friends them they run well rocket. Yes they run well rocket. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. My people have no fear. Anti-Kamla is here. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. No, give the finger in the end. South for the UNC. East for the UNC. West for the UNC. Give the finger in the end. South for the UNC. East for the UNC. West for the UNC. Stop all the nonsense and think TNT. UNC is the only choice to save we country. Together we aspire, together we achieve. We can make a better place right here for you and me. Right here for you and me. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. My people have no fear. Anti-Kamla is here. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. Now is the time that we vote in UNC. No, give the finger in the end. South for the UNC.
you.